You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sharice Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm actually recording in a different way today, so I'm hoping the sound sounds good. And obviously if it's been uploaded, then you know that it worked, which is amazing. But I felt a really strong message come through, and I don't normally do this. I normally wait to record in my platform and everything, but I was just really called to record this today, and that's why the title of the podcast is called You're Not Broken, You're Breaking. And that was literally the download that came through. And as it came through, I also saw a car drive around the corner that had the number plate 222. Now, if anyone knows me well, will know that is my angel number. That is the sign, right? So as that message came through, the car pulled round, and then the song that was playing on my Apple Music was Chance the Rapper, Angels. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. That is the signiest sign I've had in a very long time. And I think the reason for it, especially because the day I'm recording this is the 12/12 portal. So again, it's really potent energy, and I feel like I want to utilise it because someone needs to hear this message today. And I think for me, more than anything, well, I know for me more than anything, today has been one of those days where everything feels like this has all been worth it. And I'm saying this because there's been such difficult moments in my life, you know, really, really heavy, hard things that I've shared openly, you know, from losing 11 members of my family before I was 17, you know, in between those 5 years, to losing more relatives, right? And I would say that post-healing journey, so since I was about 29, I'm now 33, in between that time, I've lost about 3 or 4 other family and friends that are close to me. And I would say those deaths have felt even harder because I've now opened myself up to feel, right? Prior to my healing journey, I wasn't open to feel. And actually, when I began to heal, that's when I, you know, started to feel, basically. And now there's no filter or obstacle in the way of me feeling. And I think that's really a deep space. But obviously, prior to all of the loss that I've experienced in my life, you know, I had to be a parent at such a young age, and with that responsibility was hard. And you know, the sort of feelings of neglect and abandonment and all of these things that have been deeply rooted within me that I've been able to really get to the root of and look it in its eye and say, hey, I see you, you know. And I'm consistently doing that to myself and connecting with my younger child and, you know, making sure she's okay, you know, every step of my journey. And there's times where she isn't okay, and I have to think about, okay, how can I make sure she's okay now? How can I make myself feel safe in my body? Because that's really what healing is. It's feeling safe within yourself, you know. And I hope that even that little message for someone feels like that's what you need to hear, because I think a lot of the time we take the word healing as this like super woo-woo like thing, when actually it's just the ability to feel safe in yourself and to ultimately trust yourself and your decisions, because that really is the key to life, you know. That's everything that I teach, is to help you trust yourself again, or for the first time ever in your life. You know, I know so many women that have never trusted themselves, and actually doing that work in the school now with the girls, I can see that so many of them have never trusted themselves, and they're basing their life on the opinions of their friends and or their family, and actually repeating what their family have done or acted like to them, which isn't always the healthiest, you know. Like, I'm not saying that anyone's doing a bad job, but what I'm saying is we've all done the best we can with what we know, right, as adults, and the kids are watching that. You know, I'm not a parent myself yet, but I'm really close to my nieces, and I know they're watching me. And actually, I've had some really beautiful moments where my niece has been scared of something, and I hear her repeating the affirmations that I say to her that she hears me say, you know. And those moments are so beautiful and wonderful, because then she is aware, she's learning from experience. And you know, that's how kids do learn, by the way. You know, we can tell them things, but they're watching how you carry yourself, you know. And that's the most important thing in all of this work. But the reason why this is now so prevalent for me and a full circle is because this week I finished teaching the second and third round of Permission to Shine in the schools. Now, I am still consistently working with my female clients, and that is something that I absolutely love and adore, and the work is the same. It's exactly the same work that I do with the women that I do with the girls, exactly the same thing. And the feedback I've received have been from parents, from the kids, and also, the young girls, I shouldn't say kids because they're not kids, and also the teacher. The teacher in the room with me said to me, now she is the student support, and I love that she's in the room, because obviously a lot of the girls that are, in the programme will sometimes need another adult to talk to at another time, right? And it's lovely that she is there, because when the girls ask me questions at the end, I can answer them, but then when the teacher's there and knows that, she can then follow up with them in the week or make sure they're okay, all of those little things which are so important, because ultimately every single every single person in the world just wants to feel seen, heard and understood, And I had another example, I've had several examples actually in that space, where the very last thing that I asked the girls to do in the very last week is I get them to write an anonymous question basically any question that they have that they want an answer to from an adult, right? Because there's not really many times where the girls just ask these random questions and they get answered, because I'm sure if they ask their parent, maybe the parent will say another time, or maybe they don't feel comfortable to ask their parent, especially if it's around, dating or like body image or something like that. And the questions were so mature, and the student support teacher in the room said to me, at the beginning of the programme, I would have had no idea that these girls would have opened up the way they did. The questions they were asking about avoidant and attachment styles in relationships, about body dysmorphia, about eating disorders, about things with their parents, about how to manage anger. There were so many things that they were asking me from a place of anonymous place as well, and I wanted to do it anonymously because I didn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. But I even had a couple of girls speak to me about not feeling comfortable in their own life, and even one question said, what is the meaning of life? What is the point of being here when I hate my life? That was one of the questions. And to be able to really fully hold that space to one of the girls in that time was really, really wonderful. I was able to really support them and give them that confirmation, that they need to know why they need to be here. And I was really honest. Now I'll tell you exactly what I said. I said to them, you don't realise how important you are. Think of all the people in your life that love you, that need you here right now. If you disappear, that's an impact you're going to make on them. When you go, that's the easy way out. That's the easy way to end it all. But the imprint that you leave with those people from leaving too soon, that's something they have to live with forever. And is that something that you want to do? Because this is the thing with depression, right? Depression is selfish. And I'm not saying people are selfish, I'm saying depression itself as an emotion is selfish. It makes you feel, it's basically a narcissist. It makes you feel like you are the only person in the world, and it wants you to feel lonely and separate. And I feel like when I gave that message, I felt my whole body connect to what I was saying, and I felt all of the girls in the room just feel every word I was saying, and I really, really benefited. I felt like that message really benefited them, but also there was a part of me there that felt like this was really what needed to be said, and I'm really grateful for that. And every single comment that they had back was of how empowered they felt, and that some of them was that they felt heard and aware. And this isn't, by the way, about my program. This episode isn't about my program, but it's the perfect example. I'm going to get to the point, I promise you. But when I was growing up and going through all of the hard things I was going through, I felt like I had no one to talk to, and I felt like I had to take everything on the chin and get on with it. I felt like I had to push through, persevere, just suck it up, big girls don't cry. And that was literally my motto throughout my whole life. And there was times where I was breaking physically. No, I couldn't hold the weight of everything, all the responsibilities that I had taken on for myself, because I didn't want anyone to feel the way I felt. I didn't want my family to know that I was struggling. I didn't want them to know that every time they needed me, I actually needed to support myself. I didn't want them to know that, because I cared so deeply about them and all of the things that I just carried all of this responsibility. And that might be you. You might be in that place right now. You might be chronically people pleasing because you think it's helping everyone. But I tell you this now, it's not. It's enabling bad behaviour, or not even bad behaviour, but you're preventing them from finding the solution for themselves. And that in itself is taking away their self-empowerment. And I think that that's a different way to look at it. When I do my workshops, I talk about boundaries and how martyrdom is actually not healthy. We think we're being there for everyone, it's a really nice thing to do and all of the things, but actually you're debilitating people by doing that. People need to figure out on their own how to get their own way through. And when you're too there for people, and that even goes for your children, when you're too there for them, they can't figure out for themselves. It's like when you, I read something the other day about how baby birds, like the mum bird has to let the baby bird fall. And sometimes the baby bird dies as a result of it, but the mum can't fly for the baby bird. The baby bird has to figure it out for themselves. And that's for every person in your life. Like I was doing that with my parent, like there's all of these things, that we do over and over again that are hard and that are difficult. And the purpose is, again, as I said, for this episode, is that every time you feel like you're breaking, every time it feels really hard and you're struggling, I want you to know that that point where you feel absolutely broken is the shell of the old you breaking open, because it needs to be hard in order for you to move. It needs to be hard in order for you to do something differently. It needs to be hard in order for you to learn something you haven't learnt yet. And I promise you that is exactly what it is, because my life is testament to it. My life is testament to this absolute thing. And this is why it's so important. This is why me telling you why the program's so important. This is me telling you why and how I work with women is so important, because this is it. Every time you feel like you can't get back up again, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, is asking you to look at what you're going through differently, to look at whatever this obstacle is or this thing that's weighing you down, look at it differently, because that's where you find another pathway. If you get stuck, for example, you're driving somewhere and you get lost, you have to try and figure out how to go the other way. For me, I've been a great problem solver my whole life, because all I've ever faced is problems. So when that happens, if the sat nav doesn't want to take me a certain way, for example, I stop, I take my phone off, I zoom in on the map, and I see if I can go a different road. I see if I can go another way round, a back way, and I always figure it out for that reason, because I am a problem solver, because I've faced so many problems. And it's the same with life. Life doesn't want you to stop, and be stuck and stagnant in that energy. It wants you to find another way, and if it means stopping for a little while and pausing, should I say, not stopping, pausing, it wants you to pause and say, okay, this isn't working, what will work? How can I do this differently? And that was exactly my healing journey, I felt like something in my body is not sitting right. I had physical ailments from IBS and, flare-ups in that, and uncomfortable feelings and all of those things. I realised that the relationships in my life weren't serving me as a result of who I had been my whole life. And so I had to make shifts there. I was aware of my own personality and how I was being aggressive and I was being short and I was being, a bit cold at times with people. And I forgave myself for that, because what I was going through was hard, but equally I was aware enough to say, I can't do this anymore. That's not fair of me to act like that. It's not fair of me to take out my anger on everyone else, because it's not their fault, it's mine. And I'm not saying to blame yourself, but what I'm saying is look at it from a different perspective. There's a beautiful quote, and I wish I knew the owner of this quote, but it's when you're breaking open, that's how the light gets in. And that's exactly it. Because for me, this is exactly why I say my job, my life is alchemy. Because I literally have turned that pain and that hardship that I went through, all of those hard things, every single thing that was time after time after time. You know, I was even speaking the other day about my experience at uni the first time round, when I broke down so many times that AA knew me by name. My laptop got stolen, my work got lost. There was just thing after thing after thing keep going wrong, because I was perpetuating that cycle and was completely unaware of it. You know, the minute I became aware that my thoughts become things and the way I'm thinking it, I was like, oh wow. Because that first peak of, you know, I wouldn't say healing, but awareness came at 23 when I got back from that second job abroad. And I'm speaking to you like you know this, because obviously my story is in the first episode. So if you haven't listened, please go back and do that, because it'll make sense. Otherwise, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? But yeah, that moment where I first became self-aware was at 23. I'd come back from my second job abroad, dancing. That was just an absolute, well, shit show, to be completely honest with you. And in that, I was like, right, what can I do differently then? Because I need to still dance. Like, that's in my body. That's what I came here to do, I was thinking. So how and what can I do differently? And it was go back to what you enjoy. You know, that was really the thing for me. And that's when I got back into street dancing and hip hop and started to do world dance styles, and my career as a dancer started to unfold. Now, all of that stuff was so important too, because I learned the importance of movement and joy through movement, and the connection of mind, body and soul through that space, and following my passion. You know, again, these are all things that I teach and embody, you know, and that's another part of my story that enriches every part of it. And that was actually, you know, that thing that the student support teacher said, is that she's doing a psychology degree, and she found my program with the girls so much more useful than what she's learning about in her psychology degree, because I was showing her what it looks like in real time, the reality, the vulnerability of what it looks like to put these actions into play. You know, these things about understanding ourselves and you know, setting boundaries, what that looks and feels like, and the good, the bad, the ugly with it, because no one's talking about that. You know, when you go in to look at a case study, they're giving you the quantitative data, and maybe even sometimes qualitative, which means like the words and the things, for anyone that doesn't know. They give you that, but in small doses, you know. So I really, truly want to let you know that if you feel like everything is falling apart, that your whole life is up in shambles, the light is trying to get through. You know, every stage of the hardship that I went through in my life, I can see now it was all necessary, every single part of it. And that's why I feel so overwhelmed today with gratitude, because it's really making an impact, you know. And I was scrolling through TikTok when I post, you know, something about you've got to keep scrolling to keep the algorithm, you know, you've got to play the game, guys, which I don't enjoy. You know, I do try to limit my screen time on everything, because again, I don't want to become a slave to my phone. That's another side story. But I was coming across this post about generational trauma, and it literally is that, you know, in the work that I do, I am breaking generational cycles. And that isn't what I say as my title, but it is that. As a byproduct of working with me, as a byproduct of me helping you to understand what you went through, accept it, release it, and then rebuild a solid foundation of self-worth and self-trust to ultimately find self-love and create that sustainably for yourself, rooted in who you are. You, as a byproduct, break the cycles that you have seen throughout your generations. You create a new timeline. You're doing a timeline shift. You are quantum leaping out of the version of yourself and the life that was meant for you, as in, you know, to repeat everything you've always seen, and you are creating a new pathway of a new generational cycle, a new legacy for your lineage to come. And what's really beautiful, and I think I've said this in another episode, is that my Dharma, my moon's Nakasatra in Vedic astrology, is all about I've lost my train of thought there. My car just went off. My moon nakasatra is ruled by Ganesh, and it basically translates to the destroyer of obstacles. And that is exactly what I'm doing in my work. And yeah, I said it before, but that is essentially, even with the girls, I'm giving them the tools to be able to question these things happening. I'm giving them the tools to be able to say, you know what, if I've watched this happen over and over again, do I want to repeat this pattern? Do I want to do this the way that my parents have done it? Even with body image, all of those things, the eating disorder questions, I've given them those tools to be able to see it. And, people might not like this, but I'll be honest with you, the core root of eating disorders is to gain control. Because something in your life has felt out of control. So in order to gain control again, people start to control what they eat. And that is it. That's the real core root. And it's under all of the layers of, looking at your body, seeing your body in a different light, comparing yourself to others. It's under all of those layers. And so many people don't want to hear that. And I even said it to the girls when they was asking me those questions. And, some of them was challenging it a little bit, because that's not how they see it, right? Because they don't see that that's the root layer of it. And that's what's so important about, when we understand ourselves, we take our power back. And that's it, right? That's what my title is: Inner Power Activation Leader and Intuitive Healer, because that's what I'm doing. I'm helping you see your power in its truest form, and we're healing that inner child part of you. So then you do create that new cycle. So when you are in that state of brokenness and feeling like everything is falling apart, maybe it needs to. It's not even a maybe. It needs to break. Everything needs to break because it wasn't working, and your spirit guides, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, knows better than you. And that's really the secret, is when we can let go of the resistance, the let go of trying to control the situation or, handle it in a way that, is different, or the way we think it should be is probably the right way to word this. When we let go of how we think things should look and feel, and we trust that it's going to work out exactly how it's supposed to, and we stop trying to figure it out and just go with it, that's when we do take our power back. That's when we align with the highest version of ourselves. You aren't supposed to have it all figured out. You aren't. That's why we're here to learn, right? Every situation in our life, we are just constantly learning. And I think if you can be a student of life always, and trust that every day, there might be a different way of doing something, that's how you're going to enrich your life more and more. The people that think they know everything, are often the ones that end up getting pie in their face, right? Because they're like, it was supposed to be like that. Why has it not been like that? Whereas the people that are like, oh, it'll just be how it'll be, they're the happiest, because they allow it to flow, right? So allow the light to flow in through you. If it feels really hard right now, let go. Let go of trying to control. Let go of trying to figure things out. Let go of whatever you think it should look and feel and be like, and trust the universe has a better plan for you. If your relationships ended, if you didn't get the job you wanted, or if you got sacked, or if you got, you didn't get the application that you wanted, or the opportunity didn't come through, or, the promotion didn't happen. Why is that? Look at the deeper meaning of that. The universe wanted you to look at something differently. Maybe you're not supposed to stay in that job. Maybe that promotion you kept waiting for was actually a sign from the universe to say, that's not for you. You're not supposed to be doing that. We're moving you out of that situation. I know so many people in my life in that situation where, they're expecting the promotion, it didn't happen, and then they're now questioning, like, what, this is all I wanted to do, blah, blah, blah. But you can do that job in any firm, you could start your own. There's always a lesson in everything we're doing, and this is what I mean. You are not broken, but you are breaking. and something is breaking that doesn't serve you anymore. So if you can look at life through that lens, that is true empowerment. That really is the meaning of it, because I promise you this, right? There is no easy option. There is no click of a finger and everything slots into place and everything's perfect. Even in your manifestations, living in your manifestations, there will be something, right? If you're manifesting the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams and you finally have them, there's going to be arguments still. You're two humans, right? That's what I mean. Just because you can't run away from your perfect person because you're having arguments, that actually makes your relationship stronger for anyone that, is in that relationship place. We need those moments to be able to enrich the relationship and to adjust our beliefs, adjust our understanding of each other. There's so many layers to this as to why adversity needs to happen in our lives, because that's how we grow. I speak about this all of the time, but the most successful person is the person that's failed the most. That's it. They have failed the most and they kept going. So, to summarise, you aren't broken. You are breaking, but let it happen, because that's how the light gets in. That's how you become the person you need to be and learn the things you need to learn. And if you are struggling with that on a real deep level, drop me a DM, because this is my work, and I'm all about supporting you and giving you the tools to be able to navigate the darkness, because you will go there again, you will visit there again, but you're not supposed to stay. So if you feel like you've overstayed your welcome in the darkness and you are ready to live in the light, or at least, stay there the longest, then drop me a DM, because this is everything that I do. And I have, a really beautiful opportunity for something different, which is my self-study. Now, I've re-released it because I feel like this is going to be a lifetime access tool. So if you are someone that, feels like you reach the darkness quite a few times in your life and you're looking for just a way to, a little touch point every now and again, the self-study is literally what I teach, my program, Permission to Shine, in 6 segments. And it's all online. You can reach it anytime you want. You get the journal included with it, so you can tap into it whenever you want. And if you do it a few times, you want a new journal, obviously you've got access to be able to grab a new one on my website. But you can just go back to it over and over again, because every time you visit it, I can guarantee you'll in a different place in your life, right? And it's going to support you through every shade. So, if that's something that you are interested in, I do have the link in the show notes, so you can access it there. It's also going to be really useful for teenage girls. Again, girls that have taken part in my program in person in the schools. Again, it's just something to go back on. Or if they haven't and you've listened to the program and its benefits, this is of access to you as well. And you can do it together, mum and daughter as well. So the program is just aimed at women and girls. And you'll understand what I mean when you watch it, because it's my life story and I'm using my experiences as an example to support you and to be able to understand this part and what this all looks like. But I just want to let you know that really powerful message that came through is that you're not broken. Yes, you are breaking, and it's all part of the process, especially this time of year. If you're listening to time, winter is all about hibernation. We're going inwards. So honour that for yourself and allow whatever's coming off or falling away or decaying, allow it all to just go. Because the more you hold on, the more stress you're putting yourself through, Let the things fall away, because what's meant to be will always find you. Sending you so much love and light, and I will speak to you soon.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you will find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.